We're good.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you and welcome. At this time, I'd like to call to order the regular Board of Commissioners meeting for the Oceana County Board for March 13th, 2025. And I ask that the clerk do a roll call, please.
Mr. Beggs.
Here.
Mr. McCormick.
Here.
Mr. Hardy.
Here.
Mr. Erickson.
Here.
Mr. Walker.
Here. I ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the February 27th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make that motion, Hardy. Support.
Moved by Mr. Hardy, support by Mr. McCormick. Are there any questions, discussion, or comments on them? Hearing none, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Conflict of interest disclosure regarding agenda items. Does anybody have a conflict of interest on the agenda items? Hearing none, are there changes to the agenda?
Are we on a community service building windows? Are we gonna take no action on that pending more information?
I think that we need to get a price on not to exceed price if they have to frame the subframe into the windows just from them, and then we'll bring it back at the next meeting. That should be the only thing we have to do is at the next meeting. Is everybody in agreement with that we take no action on that item at this?
Yes.
Okay. Any other changes to the agenda? Approval of the agenda with the one change.
So move. Support.
Moved by Mr. Erickson, support by Mr. McCormick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public comment at this time. Does anybody have any last public comment on the agenda items? On the agenda items only? Hearing none. Commissioner Beggs, the security metal detector.
I'd like to make a motion 2025-31 to approve the purchase of a metal detector from Garrett in the amount of $7,113.32, pending verification that it includes installation, and allow the administrator to make necessary adjustments.
Thank you, Mr. Beggs. Do we have a support?
I'll support, Hardy.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Beggs.
Yes.
Mr. Hardy.
Yes.
Mr. McCormick.
Yes.
Mr. Erickson.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Erickson, Brownfield redevelopment bylaws.
Mr. Walker, I make motion 2025-32 to approve the revised Brownfield redevelopment bylaws as were presented.
Do we have a support?
I'll support, Hardy.
Moved by Mr. Erickson, support by Mr. Hardy. Any discussion or questions on the bylaws? Roll call vote.
Mr. Erickson.
Yes.
Mr. Hardy.
Yes.
Mr. Beggs.
Yes.
Mr. McCormick.
Yes.
Mr. Walker.
Yes, thank you. Mr. McCormick, West Michigan Community Mental Health reappointments.
Motion 2025-33 to reappoint Larry Van Sickle and Lucinda Schaefer to the West Michigan Community Mental Health for a term of 3 years to expire on March 31st, 2028.
Support.
Moved by Mr. McCormick, support by Mr. Erickson. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Village of Rothbury appropriation request, and this is for the Hart Montague Bicycle Trail linking the path from the Hart Montague Bicycle Trail to the restrooms in the Village of Rothbury. It is not the actual bicycle trail. Mr. Erickson?
Mr. Walker, I make motion 2025-34 to appropriate $45,000 to the Village of Rothbury for the purpose of improvements to the Hart Montague Bike Trail, with the funds to be allocated from the general fund.
Do we have a support? I will ask one more time. Do we have a support for that? Being no support, we will move on to the next item, which will be the payment of claims.
Yes, I'd ask for board approval for accounts payable and release of funds Thursday, March 13th, 2025. $783.68 for the ambulance fund, $11,803.05 of FOC, indigent defense fund, $30,602.59. Department of Veterans Affairs, $9,623.11. Technology Innovation Fund, $11,676.22. Public Improvement Fund, $21,312.14. Building Department Fund, $7,417.29. General Fund total, $567,637.78. For a grand total of $931,855.86.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Do we have a support?
I'll support.
Thank you, Mr. Beggs. Any questions or comments on the payment of bills? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
Mr. Beggs?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
Mr. Erickson?
Yes.
Mr. Walker?
Yes. Reports from the commissioners. Mr. Beggs?
I forgot about it earlier. We talked about the, building department, Veterans Affairs transition. Can we, talk
Yes.
about that real quick?
Yes. Mr. Beggs, you mentioned that the building committee went and looked at that use of that space once the building department moves up into the District 10 Health Department with the District 10 Health. Is there a concurrence from the board members that the Veterans Affairs will be allowed to use the vacated space when the building department moves out?
Yes.
Do any board members have any objections to that space going to the board members? So we have a concurrence?
Yes.
We have a concurrence if that's where that's going. Mr. Beggs, thank you for bringing that up. Now, we'll,
The committee that went and looked at that and mulled that over.
yeah,
And as long as we're on that topic, to add to it, you know, the only thing now when you enter the building is that, you know, Troy and Troy's office is kind of a little, that space would be nice also. And I know that's where he went, because that's where Jim Durham was, and that's how all of that did happen. But we did see the potential in the future that maybe the emergency management director might find another home and free up more space in that building for just those things, because Jim Kelly was there that day when we walked through the building, and he had expressed a desire for more office space for Michigan State, an extension in that building where they already have 4 offices. So there's also, we feel a need in that building to maybe make a little bit more room. And we did go down to the door into probation and parole, and beyond probation and parole and that door, there's no additional space that's there. But the building had been used for a lot of storage, all the different rooms. Dave has been working on outside storage for more of these things, and then I find we've got a lot of storage in a lot of different places too. And why are we storing so much stuff? Do we need to be storing that we've got 3 or 4 outside yard barns on top of these? And I understand there's more room in Shelby at the ambulance building. I don't know about the, you know, the coordination of any of that space, and we've stored a lot of things out at the Cooney property in our other building. But we had discussed the potential that maybe emergency management might be able to be housed in our ambulance building. where there is a generator, where there are showers and a kitchen, and our assets are all across the parking lot. If we were to have an emergency, our manager would be on site with all of our assets also. So we did kick that around a little bit, but you know, maybe we might be making another move somewhere in the future that would free up more space for extension, probation and parole wouldn't be moved, but the veterans. And you know, that was their big need, was more room for canned goods and having their storage. And I do see that, you know, in the future those needs might change, but I also must say, before we're over with building and space, that those that are aware of what's happening out on Polk Road with social services building, we've got another large empty building on Polk Road that in the future may become available through a lease, you know, when the leaseholder is notified they don't need that much space. There's only 4 people working in that building now, where there used to be over 40. And they've all gone to the phone-based servicing of their clients, so there's a lot of space on Polk Road.
That's a big, beautiful building on Polk Road, and I understand where you're coming from, but I wouldn't mind seeing that be on the tax rolls if social services isn't there anymore either. And the building that we have up on where the ambulance is, I think when we walked through there a year ago, all of us that were on the board at that time recognized that as soon as you walk in the door where the reception area is, there's an office right behind it that's being used for storage. And that may be a place for, you know, if we so decide, you know, in long term. So, well, we have a concurrence that the Veterans Affairs will take that over. So, back to reports from the commissioners. Mr. Beggs?
Just a little bit from the Veterans Affairs met last week, and there are 2 new members that we appointed at our last meeting were there. Tracy announced her resignation from that board, so eventually they've already started kind of canvassing for another person to fill that. They've got 6 people on a 7-person board right now, so we'll see that come across in the near future. I think they're going to advertise that for 30 days or something like that. Road Commission is busy. You know, plow season appears to be over. I'm not so sure, they might not have to get the plows out 1 or 2 more times. We'll see, but you know, it's Michigan. But they've got a lot of projects underway. A lot of projects they're trying to find funding for 2 and 3 years down the road. Some bridge funding that Mr. Timmer was talking about at yesterday's meeting. Just trying to put together. There aren't any bridges that need to be replaced, but he's looking very closely at maintenance and trying to work critical bridge funding from the state in that maintenance category. So good forward thinking being done by the Road Commission and their board and managing director Mark Timmer. So be exciting to see. Last year was a big project year. A lot of roads resurfaced and chip sealed and paved and rehabbed, and so they've already been out grading gravels, which is an interesting thing for the first, second week of March. So they're doing good work there. So excited to see what's in store for them this winter, or summer. Sorry, winter's over. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Beggs. Mr. Hardy?
I have nothing at this time, thanks.
Mr. McCormick?
Couple things. We had a West Michigan Works meeting in Ludington, the one I called you about. And one of their programs had their funding cut $600,000 for this new year starting. And it's, they said it was actually a cut from a state funded source, but it's connected to this federal thing, which you mentioned at our last meeting, that we need to be mindful of that going forward. You know, if there's any of our funding coming that way, to be prepared for how we're going to address that. The other thing I had, with the buildings and grounds, I walked through that little building out there on Oceana Drive that Dave uses for storage. And it's full of furniture. And we didn't use any of that furniture, we bought all new for this change we did there. And he said we've got 3 buildings like that. And it's all good stuff, but we're never gonna use it. And now Dave needs more storage space. The other thing he mentioned to me, which, you know, I think is something we really should figure out, he doesn't have a maintenance shop. And he should have, or our maintenance department should have, you know, a little garage, tooled up, lighted, heated, so that they've got a spot to work. So that's just something we need to think about. That's all
I think if they have a need, they go out to the airport to use Kurt's shop, which is less than ideal.
It's just kind of a hit and miss. He works here and he works there, which it's getting done. It's just not efficient.
Yeah, I discovered the same thing a couple months ago. I asked him about that. You don't have a bay to pull a lawnmower in to sharpen the
Or a
blades?
pickup or,
Right,
you
yeah.
know, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the furniture that's not being used, that we should authorize the county administrator to dispose of it.
One way or another. I mean,
I think it,
you know, there might be one of those companies that repurposes
What-
that
what-
stuff that would
whatever.
take it away and it would save us money, but I just can't. It's
Yeah.
accumulated to the point, like you walk in that building, there's no lights in there, so you could look around in there with a flashlight, but the stuff is stacked and piled, and how do you measure it, and
At our next meeting, let's have the county administrator get a hold of Dave and get not a total list, but get
Rundown.
a rundown of the stuff that we have, and let us approve the disposal of that. See if there's any other department, any of the departments that need it, let's dispose of it, let's get rid of it.
Yeah, I know the sheriff's department is putting a few more people in offices. Maybe there's,
So if nobody has it, nobody else wants it, and we can't get rid of it, it can make a trip to the dumpsters. I hate to do that, but let's get rid of it.
Love Inc.
Facebook Marketplace isn't a horrible place to dispose of it if,
And Love Inc.
get a couple dollars on, yeah, or donate it, yeah.
Donate it to wherever, let's take care of that, we can make a note for the next meeting. Good point, Joel. Do you have anything else for us?
no, that's all I have.
Paul, what do you have for us?
Yeah, did get to Colfax, and, it's a great thing to go to Colfax and see a town board meeting. They did have a discussion about cameras, and it was pretty much determined out there, they felt a little bit too rural and didn't need an expense of having an LPR out there. They've got their budget taken care of, their town hall, they're looking at maybe making it more of a center, exercise center or something out there, now that they've, sold all the fire equipment and, dismantled and took the old town hall down, so, they're looking at making it a little bit more of a community center. Dave Leonard does a great job out there. Really happy with what goes on in Colfax. That's a non-zoned township, so a lot of the things that we have don't apply out there, especially like the well and septic permits and things of that nature that are going on. They're sorting those things out. We might see change there. In the meeting that we did have in Levitt Township this past week, same answer on the cameras, same sort of opinion on the cameras. There's not enough traffic, and they would not want those expenses to fall on their shoulders. So they've got a new supervisor, fairly new town board, but they're looking at adding onto their town hall. Hopefully they would install a flush toilet, because they have no running water in the building. So that was the big thing there. one thing I'd like to ask this board to do for the fair, the Oceana County Agricultural Society, is that we are applying to MDARD, Michigan Department of Agriculture, for a grant in the amount of $100,000 to put new bath and shower facilities on the commercial building. And they're looking for our grant application to include a letter of support. And what I was hoping this board would provide the Agricultural Society a letter of support for the county fair that in this grant application process. Where we're at with that, current bids are coming in around $350,000. We're applying for $100,000. We've got about $100,000 in the bank, of which we would use part of that money, and we'll also be using our community foundation through the process of charitable gifts that we might be able to afford to put these new bath facilities on our commercial building, and then start utilizing that building as we had for generations for, wedding receptions, reunions, gatherings of that nature on the fairgrounds. So that's the biggest thing that the fair board is in need of right now. The total project is probably going to be somewhere in the amount of $350,000. So it's going to be a road to hoe, but the fair board's anxious to make these improvements on the grounds for the people of Oceana County.
Mr. Erickson, why don't we have the administrator draft a letter of support with no monetary commitment from the county and bring it back to us at the next meeting for our approval?
Yep, we're not looking for any money, so very good. Thank you.
We'll take care of that at the next meeting. Anything else from the commissioners?
But one last thing though, most of you realize that my brother David, my younger brother, passed away this past week. And I surely do appreciate our county medical care and the loving care that they gave him in his last couple of days. He had spent a month at the medical care, and I got to see the sisters about every day. But the facility is wonderful. It's gorgeous, but the staff we have at our medical care, wonderful, caring staff. And the last day last Monday, they provided the care and the comfort necessary to let him die peacefully. And I surely do appreciate our medical care and our staff. We were able to wheel him in there, and he stayed for about 3 weeks. He progressed enough to where we could take him home. We did take him home for 5 days, so we got to enjoy his big ass couch, his big ass TV. And about that point in time, he found he couldn't live alone, and he would need 24-hour care. And we had an open bed still at the medical care facility waiting for him. So we were able to stop by Cherry Blossom. We got to see his mother. We took him to the medical care, and the gals opened the doors and took him right back, put him right where he was. And so no, I can't tell you how important that facility is to us, and we're all going to need it one of these days. We talk about it every time. Everybody in this room may need it, or they or their family. It is the most important asset we have, that we take care of our elderly. Thank you.
Anything else?
I'm good.
I would just like to take a comment on us not getting a second. We had no problem with the ARPA funds building a gazebo for Hesperia. We had no problem with the ARPA funds putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into Shelby Township between water lines and a park and now another gazebo. We had one of our small communities come in and ask for a thing. If we didn't feel as though it was right to put $40,000 in this, we had no problem giving the village manager from Pentwater $20,000 2 years ago to dredge a harbor. I think there was no equity and not a lot of thought on this. I would ask my fellow commissioners to think about it. And because there was no second, it can be brought before the board again. If we do not feel as though we can put out the full amount that was asked for, maybe a goodwill offering to one of our communities who has never, ever, ever gotten a cent from Oceana County would be worthwhile to consider. Some type of a goodwill offering. We've done it before. We've done many projects. We've been involved with many things. You know, I have said this before, you know, well, I'll pass and I will not comment on the request from Pentwater at this time. At the right time, I'll comment on that. We did not have any problem at all accepting $9,500 from one of our departments from the electric force. And we didn't tell that department where they had to put that money, and we didn't cut their budget by $9,700 either. I live in that community, and I understand that. But I think we have to be fair and equitable to everybody to the best of our abilities. And I'm just asking for each one of us to think about it, and with the possibility of making some type of an offer back. Because I can guarantee you, from what have happened at the village of Shelby last Monday night, there's gonna be another request for county money coming. It's gonna be coming. So,
I just need to say that as a board, when we make a motion such as this that fails for lack of support, we've given up discourse, and we've given up conversation, and we've given up bargaining, and we've given up the need of persons making the request, the entity, the village of Rothbury, to improve that. In the future, whether we agree with it or not, I'm hoping that this board will have a second of support so we can have a discussion.
let me tell everybody this, being right on the ground level. If it was not for the village of Rothbury, there would be no electric forest, period. I was right in the ground level in the trenches on that when the threats came from Grant Township and they were not gonna approve any more mass gathering ordinances whatsoever. And I met with the owners of the ranch, who I've known for years, and I orchestrated the annexation into the village of Rothbury so they could have their music fest. And all of that money that comes into West Michigan, we are talking tens of millions of dollars every year. Curtis, is that a correct statement?
Correct.
And if it was not for the village of Rothbury, there would be no electric forest. There would not be that retail or anything else. And as far as the money that the village of Rothbury gets, that was a discussion the owners of the ranch and myself had with AEG Live before it ever came before this board to approve that annexation. And the village and Grant Township now, if they think only the village of Rothbury gets money, think of all of the firefighters that are out there making $45 an hour being on the venue at Grant. 45, 30, I don't know the exact amount. But those firefighters are paid premium wages to be at that electric forest all the time. So it's not just the village of Rothbury. I live there and I have to defend my home community once in a while. So don't take it all personally, but I'd like us to think about it and see if there's something we can do. That bicycle trail, when I did the grant to do that, I was shocked at the usage on that bicycle trail. And if it wasn't for the Courage of Iron being so generous, that connector path would not have been to the restrooms there. And I think the village of Rothbury, those restrooms, those were put in the early 90s. They are going to renovate those whole things. In the village of Rothbury, it would not surprise me, they're going to have $40,000 or $50,000 into renovating those restrooms, bringing them up and doing that whole building. So I don't want to end on a sour note, but, Jessica, do you have anything for us?
I have nothing else.
If you, well, your smile makes everybody feel better anyway. Melanie, do you have anything?
I do not.
Public comments. Do we have any public comments? Welcome, sir.
Hi, you want me to go up there?
Would you please? Thank you.
I'm Jason Lefevre, I live at 507 Griswold Street here in Hart. I'm the vice chair of the Oceana County Republicans. I brought a flyer, but I believe that an email went out, and I'd be happy to discuss it afterwards with anybody about our Lincoln Day dinner that's coming up March 27th at the New Era Reformed Church. Michigan Minority Senate Leader Eric Nesbitt, who's running for governor next year, will be there, along with Senator Bumstead, Reps Fox, and Vanderwall. The vice chair of the Michigan Republican Party will be there, and there's rumors that maybe the chair of the Republican Party for Michigan will be there. So I'd like to invite everybody that would like to come and enjoy it. On a personal note, if I may, last year my father passed away. We did a nice celebration of life, kind of get together at the Rothbury Park there, and it was very nice, and I appreciate that the facilities are there for us to use. So,
Sorry for your loss and thank you for your comments.
thank you. Have a great day.
Are there any other public comment? Curtis?
Curtis Burdette, Oceana County Economic Alliance. Sent out an email, but just wanted to invite you, there's a virtual meeting next Friday, just on the role of local government in economic development, put on by the Right Place in partnership with the Economic Alliance. So just a way to kind of share some of the resources that are out there and what other communities are doing. The Right Place is regional economic development based in Grand Rapids, but Oceana County Economic Alliance works in partnership with them. Also wanted to note that last year when I was up here, we had a confidential project that was on the list that I couldn't tell you about, and you probably just heard the $32 million expansion planned by Peterson Farms. So that was that project that wasn't available to share that name. They were looking at another state. We're provided a little bit of incentive from the state of Michigan. I had a chance to make an appeal before the Michigan Strategic Fund Board to ask for exemption for them to beat what another state was offering to make sure that that expansion happens here. So really excited for that, and adding 96 new jobs and over $3.5 million in annual payroll. So more news on that you'll be hearing soon, but that's the latest.
Thank you, Curtis. Is there any other public comments? Then I believe we can stand adjourned. Thank you to the public and thank you to my fellow board members. Ladies, thank you for being here.